I remember the day the notice arrived, an elegant ivory envelope, sealed with crimson wax bearing my father's crest. My heart fluttered with a familiar blend of anticipation and trepidation. He was gone, and in his absence, the house felt hollow, as though it were waiting for something. Waiting for me. The family notice, however, wasn't addressed to me. It was intended for my aunt and cousins, those whom Dad had deemed worthy of attending his funeral. In that moment, the world shifted under my feet. Isolde Callahan, his only daughter, had been uninvited. I stood in the foyer, the morning light casting pale streaks across the dark oak floor. I pressed the letter to my chest, fingertips trembling. The funeral was to be held at St. Mark's Cathedral in the heart of Boston, not in our sleepy Cape Cod town. Dad had wanted something grand, befitting his life's ambitions. But he hadn't wanted me there. My mother had died when I was young. Dad and I were inseparable until his career took him to a different orbit. Politics, philanthropy, endless gala dinners. Still, whenever I needed him, he was there. I had never questioned his love, even as I watched him drift into the elite circles he inhabited. I slipped the letter into my coat pocket and made my way to our old family kitchen. The kettle whistled. I poured tea into a chipped porcelain cup, the one my mother had painted with delicate wildflowers. I raised the cup and let the warmth seep into my palms, grounding me. My Uncle Robert was waiting in the living room. His presence was suffocating. Tall, broad-shouldered, his suit perfectly pressed. His eyes were like a hawk's, calculating. "You received it too?" he asked, voice low. I nodded, avoiding his gaze. "I don't understand," I whispered. "Why would he do this?" Robert sighed, running a hand through his silver hair. "It's complicated, Izzy. You know how Dad was? Always protecting you. Maybe he thought you couldn't handle the grief." I laughed. A hollow sound. "Protect me? By excluding me from the service?" He closed his eyes. "Look." He left instructions. "The funeral is tomorrow at 10. Attire is black tie." He said he wanted to keep it intimate, just us, and a few guests. My breath caught. "Just you? Where do I fit in that list?" Robert said nothing. I clutched the back of the couch, velvet slipping under my fingers. Betrayal bloomed in my chest. I had spent my life trying to earn his approval, to be his daughter in every sense. And now he'd erased me. I fled outside, the ocean breeze stinging my cheeks. The dunes stretched before me, wild and untamed, an ironic mirror of my own turmoil. I pressed my forehead against the rough bark of an old oak tree, drawing in ragged breath. My tears mixed with the salt-laden wind. After a moment, I steadied myself. I would not succumb to despair. If Dad thought excluding me would protect me, if he thought I was too fragile, he hadn't reckoned on Isabella Callahan's resolve. I drove to the courthouse that afternoon. The Registry of Wills and Estates sat in a brick building that smelled of aged paper and dust. The clerk, a kindly woman named Mrs. Whitaker, offered me tea and a sympathetic smile. "I'm here to see my father's will," I said, voice firm. Mrs. Whitaker nodded. "Your father included you as a beneficiary, Miss Callahan, but he did not delegate you any responsibilities for the funeral arrangements." My pulse hammered. "Beneficiary?" She slid a sealed document across the counter. "He named you explicitly. Please sign here to acknowledge receipt." My signature felt like a declaration of war. Back in my car, I carefully opened the will. My hands shook. Not with fear, but with anticipation. The pages revealed more than I'd imagined. Trusts, properties, investments. But it was the final clause that left me breathless. I, William Callahan, being of sound mind, do hereby leave the entirety of my estate to my daughter Isabella Callahan, under the condition that she assert her right and presence at my funeral service. Failure to attend shall result in forfeiture of all assets, and my estate shall pass to my sister, Eleanor Fitzgerald. My heart pounded so fiercely I thought it might burst. He had orchestrated this moment meticulously. The invitation had been withheld to provoke me, to test me. I drove through the late afternoon sun, thoughts racing. Tomorrow, I would stand beneath the cathedral's vaulted ceilings. Tomorrow, I would claim my place. That night, I lay awake on the edge of my bed, the will's words echoing in my mind. My phone buzzed. There was a message from an unknown number. "See you tomorrow, Izzy. Don't be late." I gripped the phone, knuckles white. Who had sent it? Dad's attorney? Uncle Robert? My pulse thrummed with a mix of fear and exhilaration. The drive to Boston was quiet, save for the roar of my own thoughts. As the cathedral's spire came into view, I felt a surge of something fierce. Determination, anger, and an unexpected spark of hope. I parked across the street. Clutching the will in my pocket, I squared my shoulders and walked toward the entrance. Inside, the world felt hushed. Light filtered through stained glass, bathing the pews in jewel-toned patterns. I spotted Aunt Eleanor at the front row, her face a mask of polite surprise as I entered. All eyes turned to me. I took a step forward and froze. In the center aisle, beside the casket draped in the American flag, stood someone I never expected to see. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're from. If this story moves you, please subscribe. Tomorrow I have a special story for you. Stood Commander Julian Shaw, my father's longtime friend, and the man who had delivered the verdict on my worth when he drafted that will. His crisp uniform and rigid posture made him look more sentinel than mourner. I hesitated, clutching the pew's polished wood. Heat rushed to my cheeks as murmurs rippled through the congregation. Aunt Eleanor's lips parted, but no words came. I swallowed, stepping forward until only the braided handle of the will separated me from him. Julian's eyes, the color of storm clouds, held mine for a heartbeat that felt like an eternity. Then he inclined his head ever so slightly. A curt, almost imperceptible nod meant only for me. My pulse bloomed in my throat. I placed a hand on the pew, steadying myself. The hush deepened, the weight of expectation pressing down like the vaulted stone above. Every breath felt sacrilegious in the cathedral's sanctity. I approached the casket, forced steps muffled by the plush red carpet. My heart hammered, each beat echoing off the marble walls. I stopped beside the flag-draped coffin and laid the will atop its polished surface. The parchment crackled in the silence. Aunt Eleanor broke the pause. "Isabella." Her voice trembled. I met her gaze. "I'm here because he asked me to be." Her expression flickered. Guilt, defiance, something unreadable. Commander Shaw cleared his throat. "Ms. Callahan, the service will begin momentarily. You may join us at the front." His tone was formal, but I sensed undercurrents of respect. I nodded curtly and withdrew to join the mourners already gathered. My Uncle Robert stood a few steps ahead, arms folded. He turned, surprise etched across his face. "You actually came," he whispered. I looked at him, steely. "I believe in keeping my promises. Just ask my father." A murmur ran through the crowd as soft organ music began. The priest, Father Donovan, advanced, his robes whispering against the stone floor. The ceremony proceeded with rituals I'd known since childhood, the reading of scripture, the eulogies. My Aunt Eleanor spoke first. Her words were measured, elegant, but hollow. She praised my father's charitable works, his vision for the future. She concluded with a soft, "May he rest in peace." Polite applause followed. Next, my Uncle Robert took the lectern. His eulogy was briefer, more personal, yet veiled. He spoke of loyalty, sacrifice, of debts owed and debts paid. He paused, glancing at me, but his eyes slid away. Finally, the priest stood to invite any family members to share memories. My chest tightened. Memories surged. Summer afternoons on the porch, my father's laughter booming across the yard. I felt tears sting my eyes. I rose. The pew creaked beneath me. All eyes settled on me. My voice trembled initially, but found strength in the silence. My father was a man of grand gestures. He built houses for the homeless, funded scholarships, negotiated peace treaties. But to me, he was simply Dad. My hero, my guide, the one who taught me how to ride a bike and how to stand tall in the face of fear. A soft murmur spread, some nods, some sniffles. I continued. He left me this will as a test, a final lesson in faith and courage. He wanted me to prove that love isn't just given, it's earned, fought for, and declared. Standing here, among all of you, I declare my love for him. I'm proud to be his daughter. I paused, chest heaving, then looked directly at Aunt Eleanor. And I forgive you, Aunt Ellie, but I won't let anyone dictate my worth again. A stunned silence followed, then a ripple of applause, soft but growing. Commander Shaw stepped forward and handed me a folded flag from the casket. The fabric felt heavy, sacred. I pressed it to my cheek, eyes closed. Below the altar, the priest intoned a final blessing. The organ soared, filling the cathedral with sonorous chords. I opened my eyes to see nods of approval, guests leaning forward, tears shining. But when the music died, and the priest stepped away, I saw him. Uncle Robert, his face pale, lips moving in a silent whisper. Across the aisle, Aunt Eleanor's eyes were bright with unshed tears. Commander Shaw caught my eye again. He motioned for me to follow him. I folded the flag and rose. Behind me, I heard my name. Soft at first, then urgent. Isabella, wait. I turned to see a young woman slipping through the pews, dark hair, determined stride. Her eyes locked on mine, and as she drew closer, my breath caught. She was holding something, an envelope, and she meant to deliver it to me. Cliffhanger. Who was she, and what did she have to tell me? Stood Commander Julian Shaw, my father's longtime friend, and the man who had delivered the verdict on my worth when he drafted that will. His crisp uniform and rigid posture made him look more sentinel than mourner. I hesitated, clutching the pew's polished wood. Heat rushed to my cheeks as murmurs rippled through the congregation. Aunt Eleanor's lips parted, but no words came. I swallowed, stepping forward until only the braided handle of the will separated me from him. Julian's eyes, the color of storm clouds, held mine for a heartbeat that felt like an eternity. Then he inclined his head ever so slightly. A curt, almost imperceptible nod meant only for me. My pulse bloomed in my throat. I placed a hand on the pew, steadying myself. The hush deepened, the weight of expectation pressing down like the vaulted stone above. Every breath felt sacrilegious in the cathedral's sanctity. I approached the casket, forced steps muffled by the plush red carpet. My heart hammered, each beat echoing off the marble walls. I stopped beside the flag-draped coffin and laid the will atop its polished surface. The parchment crackled in the silence. Aunt Eleanor broke the pause. Isabella. Her voice trembled. I met her gaze. I'm here because he asked me to be. Her expression flickered. Guilt, defiance, something unreadable. Commander Shaw cleared his throat. Ms. Callahan, the service will begin momentarily. You may join us at the front. His tone was formal, but I sensed undercurrents of respect. I nodded curtly and withdrew to join the mourners already gathered. My Uncle Robert stood a few steps ahead, arms folded. He turned, surprise etched across his face. You actually came, he whispered. I looked at him, steely. I believe in keeping my promises. Just ask my father. A murmur ran through the crowd as soft organ music began. The priest, Father Donovan, advanced, his robes whispering against the stone floor. The ceremony proceeded with rituals I'd known since childhood, the reading of scripture, the eulogies. My Aunt Eleanor spoke first. Her words were measured, elegant, but hollow. She praised my father's charitable works, his vision for the future. She concluded with a soft, "May he rest in peace." Polite applause followed. Next, my Uncle Robert took the lectern. His eulogy was briefer, more personal, yet veiled. He spoke of loyalty, sacrifice, of debts owed and debts paid. He paused, glancing at me, but his eyes slid away. Finally, the priest stood to invite any family members to share memories. My chest tightened. Memories surged. Summer afternoons on the porch, my father's laughter booming across the yard. I felt tears sting my eyes. I rose. The pew creaked beneath me. All eyes settled on me. My voice trembled initially, but found strength in the silence. My father was a man of grand gestures. He built houses for the homeless, funded scholarships, negotiated peace treaties. But to me, he was simply Dad. My hero, my guide, the one who taught me how to ride a bike and how to stand tall in the face of fear. A soft murmur spread, some nods, some sniffles. I continued. He left me this will as a test, a final lesson in faith and courage. He wanted me to prove that love isn't just given, it's earned, fought for, and declared. Standing here, among all of you, I declare my love for him. I'm proud to be his daughter. I paused, chest heaving, then looked directly at Aunt Eleanor. And I forgive you, Aunt Ellie, but I won't let anyone dictate my worth again. A stunned silence followed, then a ripple of applause, soft but growing. Commander Shaw stepped forward and handed me a folded flag from the casket. The fabric felt heavy, sacred. I pressed it to my cheek, eyes closed. Below the altar, the priest intoned a final blessing. The organ soared, filling the cathedral with sonorous chords. I opened my eyes to see nods of approval, guests leaning forward, tears shining. But when the music died, and the priest stepped away, I saw him. Uncle Robert, his face pale, lips moving in a silent whisper. Across the aisle, Aunt Eleanor's eyes were bright with unshed tears. Commander Shaw caught my eye again. He motioned for me to follow him. I folded the flag and rose. Behind me, I heard my name. Soft at first, then urgent. Isabella, wait. I turned to see a young woman slipping through the pews, dark hair, determined stride. Her eyes locked on mine, and as she drew closer, my breath caught. She was holding something, an envelope, and she meant to deliver it to me. Cliffhanger. Who was she, and what did she have to tell me? Stood Commander Julian Shaw, my father's longtime friend, and the man who had delivered the verdict on my worth when he drafted that will. His crisp uniform and rigid posture made him look more sentinel than mourner. I hesitated, clutching the pew's polished wood. Heat rushed to my cheeks as murmurs rippled through the congregation. Aunt Eleanor's lips parted, but no words came. I swallowed, stepping forward until only the braided handle of the will separated me from him. Julian's eyes, the color of storm clouds, held mine for a heartbeat that felt like an eternity. Then he inclined his head ever so slightly. A curt, almost imperceptible nod meant only for me. My pulse bloomed in my throat. I placed a hand on the pew, steadying myself. The hush deepened, the weight of expectation pressing down like the vaulted stone above. Every breath felt sacrilegious in the cathedral's sanctity. I approached the casket, forced steps muffled by the plush red carpet. My heart hammered, each beat echoing off the marble walls. I stopped beside the flag-draped coffin and laid the will atop its polished surface. The parchment crackled in the silence. Aunt Eleanor broke the pause. Isabella. Her voice trembled. I met her gaze. I'm here because he asked me to be. Her expression flickered. Guilt, defiance, something unreadable. Commander Shaw cleared his throat. Ms. Callahan, the service will begin momentarily. You may join us at the front. His tone was formal, but I sensed undercurrents of respect. I nodded curtly and withdrew to join the mourners already gathered. My Uncle Robert stood a few steps ahead, arms folded. He turned, surprise etched across his face. You actually came, he whispered. I looked at him, steely. I believe in keeping my promises. Just ask my father. A murmur ran through the crowd as soft organ music began. The priest, Father Donovan, advanced, his robes whispering against the stone floor. The ceremony proceeded with rituals I'd known since childhood: the reading of scripture, the eulogies. My Aunt Eleanor spoke first. Her words were measured, elegant, but hollow. She praised my father's charitable works, his vision for the future. She concluded with a soft, "May he rest in peace." Polite applause followed. Next, my Uncle Robert took the lectern. His eulogy was briefer, more personal, yet veiled. He spoke of loyalty, sacrifice, of debts owed and debts paid. He paused, glancing at me, but his eyes slid away. Finally, the priest stood to invite any family members to share memories. My chest tightened. Memories surged. Summer afternoons on the porch, my father's laughter booming across the yard. I felt tears sting my eyes. I rose. The pew creaked beneath me. All eyes settled on me. My voice trembled initially, but found strength in the silence. My father was a man of grand gestures. He built houses for the homeless, funded scholarships, negotiated peace treaties. But to me, he was simply Dad. My hero, my guide, the one who taught me how to ride a bike and how to stand tall in the face of fear. A soft murmur spread, some nods, some sniffles. I continued. He left me this will as a test, a final lesson in faith and courage. He wanted me to prove that love isn't just given, it's earned, fought for, and declared. Standing here, among all of you, I declare my love for him. I'm proud to be his daughter. I paused, chest heaving, then looked directly at Aunt Eleanor. And I forgive you, Aunt Ellie, but I won't let anyone dictate my worth again. A stunned silence followed, then a ripple of applause, soft but growing. Commander Shaw stepped forward and handed me a folded flag from the casket. The fabric felt heavy, sacred. I pressed it to my cheek, eyes closed. Below the altar, the priest intoned a final blessing. The organ soared, filling the cathedral with sonorous chords. I opened my eyes to see nods of approval, guests leaning forward, tears shining. But when the music died, and the priest stepped away, I saw him. Uncle Robert, his face pale, lips moving in a silent whisper. Across the aisle, Aunt Eleanor's eyes were bright with unshed tears. Commander Shaw caught my eye again. He motioned for me to follow him. I folded the flag and rose. Behind me, I heard my name. Soft at first, then urgent. Isabella, wait. I turned to see a young woman slipping through the pews, dark hair, determined stride. Her eyes locked on mine, and as she drew closer, my breath caught. She was holding something, an envelope, and she meant to deliver it to me. Cliffhanger. Who was she, and what did she have to tell me? I moved silently through the dim nave, following the retreating silhouette. My heart thrummed like a war drum, every step a testament to my resolve. The echo of choir voices faded behind me, replaced by the hush of empty pews and the distant creak of oak doors. My grip tightened on Gabriel's sleeve as he guided me past rows of benches. This way, he whispered, voice steady. The corridors here are ancient. We reached a side door marked only by a tarnished brass plaque. Private chapel. Beyond it, a short hallway stretched, lit by slender windows that cast pale rectangles of light on the tiled floor. The figure paused at the far end, a hunched man in a tailored coat, hands clasped behind his back. He turned slowly, face obscured by shadow. Isabella Callahan, he said, voice low and resonant. I wondered when you'd come. His accent hinted at years abroad, perhaps Oxford or Cambridge. I swallowed. Who are you? He smiled, a thin, knowing curl of the lips. Every legacy has a guardian. I am here to ensure you understand its weight. His words felt like a challenge. I straightened, pulling Gabriel beside me. Show yourself. Slowly, he stepped into a shaft of moonlight. I gasped, because the face that emerged was all too familiar. It was my father. Older, grayer, but unmistakably him, unless this was an imposter. My breath caught. How could he be alive? He inclined his head. Not as you remember, Izzy, but I have watched over you. Always. My knees trembled. But you died. Today. At St. Mark's. The man's gaze softened. Death, my dear, is not always final. Your father and I forged pacts that transcend mortal bounds. He entrusted me with his greatest secret. And now, he entrusts you. Gabriel stepped forward. This is Father's spiritual advisor, Reverend Alistair Crowley. He was with Dad in the field, ensuring his missions remained discreet. The Reverend's eyes glinted. He believed that true service demands sacrifice beyond the grave. Isabella, you stand at a crossroads, between memory and myth, between the life you knew and the destiny he carved in shadows. I felt the weight of his words press against my chest. What must I do? He extended a hand, revealing a small ornate key. This unlocks the chamber beneath the cathedral. There, you will find the first of his caches, supplies, documents, and the tools of his hidden world. But know this. Once you enter, the choice is yours alone. Silence stretched, broken only by the distant toll of the cathedral bell. I glanced at Gabriel, then at the Reverend. The flickering torchlight cast long shadows on the stone walls, as though the past itself came alive. My breath steadied. I'm ready. Reverend Crowley nodded. Then follow me. He turned and began walking toward a heavy iron door at the hallway's end. Gabriel and I exchanged a determined look and followed. Behind the door, a spiral staircase descended into darkness, a tunnel hewn from centuries-old rock. Each step was cold beneath my heels, and the scent of damp earth filled my lungs. At the bottom, we emerged into a vaulted chamber lined with alcoves. Boxes stamped Callahan Foundation stood alongside military-grade cases and leather-bound files. The Reverend stepped to a wooden podium. Here is where your father's secret became a beacon of hope for many. But he left one final test. He withdrew a dossier marked Initiation Protocol. I took it with trembling fingers. Inside were instructions for leading the first mission, coordinating a clandestine evacuation from a conflict zone in the Middle East. My heart pounded. This was beyond anything I'd ever imagined. Reverend Crowley's voice cut through my thoughts. Your father gave you the will, and the means. Now it's your turn to choose. Remain in the light of his memory, or step into his legacy's shadow. I lifted my gaze, resolve hardening. I'll do both. The Reverend's lips curved in approval. Then let us begin. A distant rumble echoed through the chamber, an ominous reminder that the world above continued unaware of the storm we were about to unleash. Cliffhanger. As the chamber lights flickered, I realized the initiation protocol was dated not for tomorrow, but for tomorrow's sunrise, leaving me just hours to prepare for a mission that could define my father's and my true legacy. Silence draped over the cathedral like a shroud as I slipped past the last pews toward the heavy oak doors. The choir's hymn faded to an echo, replaced by the quick rhythm of my heart. Gabriel's hand remained steady on my elbow, guiding me without a word. Beyond the doors lay a narrow corridor lit by flickering sconces. Shadows pooled in the corners, and the distant murmur of the service seemed both near and impossibly far away. Gabriel, wait, I whispered. He paused, his storm-gray eyes fixed on the darkness ahead. They'll suspect nothing if we're gone only briefly. I swallowed. We might be walking into a trap. He offered me a reassuring smile. Your father planned every detail. I trust his design. We reached a smaller door partially concealed behind thick drapes. Gabriel slid the bolt and pushed it open. A cold draft swept in as we entered what looked like an unused vestry. Dust motes danced in the beam from a solitary window. He pulled a concealed switch, and a section of the wall swung inward, revealing a hidden stairwell leading down. Midday prayers always keep the clergy occupied, Gabriel murmured. We have the advantage. My pulse quickened. What about Aunt Eleanor or my cousins? Gabriel's expression softened. This is between you and your legacy. They'll understand soon enough. I nodded. Then let's go. The spiral stairs were steep and narrow. Each footfall echoed, mingling with the distant chimes of the cathedral clock. At the bottom, the corridor branched into two paths, Gabriel consulted a small hand-drawn map. Its edges frayed, ink faded. Left, he said, pointing down a corridor lined with ancient stone blocks. This leads to the subchapel where your father's first cash was stored. I followed him, adrenaline surging. The air grew colder, musty with age. At the corridor's end, a heavy iron door barred our way. Gabriel produced the ornate key Reverend Crowley had given us, inserted it into the lock, and turned. The door creaked open to reveal a chamber lined with wooden crates, steel cabinets, and leather satchels. Lanterns hung from hooks, illuminating the space with a warm, amber glow. "Welcome to the Callahan Vault," Gabriel announced with a hint of pride. My breath caught. Charts and maps adorned the walls, detailing global hotspots, famine zones, conflict regions, refugee routes. Tables held medical supplies, encrypted communication devices, field rations. I stepped forward, running a finger across the surface of a canvas duffel bag stamped with the Red Cross emblem. "He really did all this," Gabriel nodded. "And more. Take a look." He gestured to a metal cabinet. Inside were documents labeled by year and operation code. I opened the folder marked Operation Red Dawn, 2021. It contained mission logs from an evacuation in Syria, detailed reports, number of civilians rescued, supplies delivered, safe corridors negotiated. Each page bore my father's signature and seal. Tears pricked my eyes. He saved hundreds, maybe thousands. Why wasn't any of this public? Gabriel closed the cabinet. Because discretion was paramount. Publicity would have endangered lives. I turned to the central crate, which bore a single word carved into its wood. Iris. Iris was his code name for you. The symbol of hope he saw in you. With trembling hands, I opened the crate. Inside lay a single artifact, a silver locket shaped like an iris bloom. I lifted it gently, feeling its weight. Engraved on the back were 3 words: courage, faith, legacy. My breath hitched. "He left this for me?" Gabriel's voice was soft. "He wanted you to wear it when you led your first mission." I clasped the locket in my palm, resolve strengthening. "What's next?" Gabriel crossed to a large map table at the chamber's center. He spread out a new document. Coordinates, dates, and an operation name, Project Phoenix. "Project Phoenix launches tomorrow at dawn," he said. "You'll coordinate the delivery of critical supplies to remote villages cut off by recent floods." I leaned over the map, absorbing every detail. The villages dotted highland regions, accessible only by narrow mountain passes. "And the team?" he smiled. "You'll meet them tonight. I've assembled experts in logistics, medicine, and negotiation, all cleared by your father's foundation." A sudden clang on the door made me spin. Gabriel moved in front of me, hand on the hilt of a concealed dagger. The door rattled. A voice called from outside. "Isabella, Gabriel, where are you? The funeral is ending." I exchanged a look with Gabriel. This was it. Choice and consequence entwined. My heart steadied. "Let them wait." Gabriel nodded, and together we turned back to the map. Cliffhanger. With only hours until dawn, could I prepare to lead my first mission and prove I was worthy of my father's secret legacy? I slipped through the cathedral's side door and into the narrow corridor beyond, my heart racing like a trapped bird. The distant echo of the choir singing Amazing Grace drifted down the stone passageway, a solemn hymn for the living as much as for the departed. Gabriel's hand steadied me. He moved like a shadow, silent and sure. "This way," he whispered, pointing to a side stair that spiraled upward. "It leads to the roof." The cold stone steps were slick beneath my heels. I followed, breath visible in the damp air, until we emerged onto a flat, gravel-strewn expanse overlooking the city. The early evening sky was a deepening indigo, gold streetlights flickering on like fireflies. "Why the roof?" I asked, shivering as the wind picked up. Gabriel glanced at me, his expression serious. "Your father often surveyed the city from here. He felt most alive between heaven and earth." I walked to the ledge, peering down at the ancient rooftops below. He must have cherished this view. He nodded. He came here before major decisions. He believed perspective was everything. I traced the silhouette of spires and chimneys. So my next test begins here? He drew a small tablet from his coat, a digital device unfamiliar against the historic stones. On its screen flickered a single prompt: "Contact the network." "Your father set this up," Gabriel explained. "An encrypted channel linking his trusted operatives." My fingers hovered over the display. What do I need to say? Identify yourself as Iris. Acknowledge Directive 6. Directive 6? I echoed, fumbling with the tablet. "The code name and protocol detailed in his journal," Gabriel replied. "It's in the back, under the flap." I pressed the tablet to life, its screen shimmering. A text box emerged, labeled Secure Node 14 Contact Interface. Below, a single line: "Enter credentials." My breath caught. With trembling hands, I tapped Iris_Callahan. Then I scrolled to Directive 6 in my father's journal: hidden instructions for coordinating rapid response medical aid in war-torn regions. My thumb hovered over the send icon. "Here goes nothing." I tapped. The device buzzed, then displayed: "Authentication successful. You are Iris. Welcome, Director." A series of dossiers populated the screen. Operation names, field reports, names of operatives. Each entry was a testament to my father's legacy and a call to action. Gabriel's voice broke my concentration. "One last thing. Trust no one too quickly. Your father valued discretion above all." I scrolled through the dossiers. One name caught my eye: Mara Holloway, operative and confidant. But she'd told me she'd safeguarded my father's interests. Were her loyalties pure? A notification blinked. Directive 6, initiate Mission Phoenix coordination. Coordinates for tomorrow's drop site, flight logs, and contact protocols. My father's familiar handwriting was encoded in metadata, nodes I would oversee. A chill ran down my spine. I was no longer an observer. I'd been promoted to director, responsible for lives and logistics. The weight of the title pressed on me. The tablet buzzed again. Incoming message. I tapped to open it. It read: Director Iris field operatives report unexpected supply cache compromised. Urgent. Secure secondary cache at coordinate 42.755N, -71.588W. Details follow. My pulse thundered. This was it. My first crisis. I looked at Gabriel. He wouldn't have sprung this on me, would he? Gabriel's eyes were solemn. He believed pressure reveals true character. I squared my shoulders. Then let's move. We descended the stairs to the courtyard. The cathedral doors loomed behind us, their stained glass windows alight with the final glow of candles. Beyond, the city awaited. A maze of need and hope. Gabriel produced a small duffel from a hidden compartment in his coat. He thrust it into my hands. I opened it. Communication gear, maps, medical kits, and field rations. Everything we'd need for a swift operation. "You know what to do next," Gabriel said. I zipped the bag, hoisting it over my shoulder. "Yes." He placed a hand on my back as we slipped into the night. "Good luck, Director Iris." A gust of wind tugged at my hair as we melted into city streets, each step carrying me further into my father's hidden world. The hum of traffic, distant sirens, and the rhythmic clack of pavement underfoot became the drumbeat of my initiation. And as the cathedral spire faded behind us, I knew the path ahead would test every fiber of my being. Cliffhanger. Racing against time, could I secure the secondary cache before dawn and prove I was worthy to carry my father's secret legacy? I pressed through the heavy oak doors, each step fueled by adrenaline and the echo of Gabriel's steady stride behind me. The cathedral lobby sprawled out in muted candlelight, a labyrinth of pillars and archways that seemed to shift as I moved. My pulse thrummed with equal parts fear and exhilaration. Moments ago, I'd sealed my commitment to my father's clandestine vision. Now, I was hunting a shadow, a wraith lurking beyond the stained glass walls. The air tasted of incense and secrets. Gabriel whispered. He would slip away before anyone noticed. Follow me. There's a service passage that leads to the cloister. I nodded, heart pounding as we wound through narrow corridors lined with medieval tapestries and masked stone gargoyles. The walls seemed alive, their ancient carvings watching us pass. At the end of the passage, a hidden door opened onto a moonlit courtyard. Cool night air brushed my cheeks. Ivy climbed the stone facade, and in the center, a fountain's faint trickle was the only sound. Gabriel pointed to a cloister entrance opposite us. That's your target. I suspect he knows the cloisters better than any priest. I squared my shoulders. The cobblestones crunched under my boots as I crossed the courtyard. The cloister's arches framed my silhouette against the pale glow of the city beyond. Inside, tomb effigies lined the walls, knights and monks carved in eternal repose. My breath caught. Each statue represented a story buried in stone, just like the legacy I carried. A figure stirred near the far corridor. I moved silently, muscle memory sharpened by years of discipline I hadn't realized I possessed. Isabella, a voice called softly. It was him, Reverend Crowley, stepping from the shadows. I froze. Reverend, why are you here? He inclined his head. To guide you, though my methods may seem cryptic. He gestured to a series of carved symbols on the wall. Your father encoded maps in these stones, coordinates for the next cache. You must learn his code. I knelt beside the carvings, interlocking circles, fleur-de-lis emblems, a sequence of letters that matched entries in Dad's field manual. Each emblem corresponds to a location, Crowley explained. Beneath the cathedral lies a network of tunnels leading to storerooms your father stocked. This is how he ensured aid reached those cut off from the world. My fingers traced the symbols. I understand, but how do I access these tunnels? Crowley produced a simple iron medallion on a chain, etched with the same pattern as the carvings. This key will open the first grate in the courtyard. The tunnels are dark, twisting. Trust your instincts and your father's guidance. A sudden rustling behind me made me whip around. Gabriel stood in the archway, crossbow slung over his shoulder. Crowley's gaze sharpened. Prepare yourself, Isabella. This next step will test your courage beyond anything you've faced. I rose, fastening the medallion around my neck. Its weight felt like a promise and a warning. Gabriel lit a lantern. Shall we? I nodded, stepping past the statue of a knight whose sword blade pointed down, as if signaling our path. Together, Gabriel and I slipped back into the courtyard. Under the fountain's basin, a rusted grate waited. I knelt, fitting the medallion into the iron lock. With a soft click, the grate shuddered open, revealing a narrow spiral stair descending into darkness. A cold wave of air rolled up as I peered into the abyss. My breath caught. The stone steps were slick with moisture and age. Gabriel extended the lantern, its flame dancing on the damp walls. After you, Director Iris. I took a deep breath, stepped onto the first rung, and felt the pull of destiny beneath my feet. Cliffhanger. As I descended into the hidden tunnels, I realized the final cache wasn't merely supplies. It held a secret that could reshape everything I thought I knew about my father's life and death. I pressed forward, following the retreating silhouette at the back of the nave. My father's cathedral, once my place of solace, had become a labyrinth of secrets. Candlelight flickered across carved stone, and every footstep felt like a confession. Gabriel's hand found mine, grounding me. Stay close, he whispered. We wove between pews, skirts and suit tails brushing against our legs, faces turned in surprise. The choir's voices rose, then fell, an unending wave of sacred sound. I pushed past astonished mourners, heart pounding, until the figures slipped through a side door beneath a narrow arch. Gabriel and I exchanged a determined look. I nodded, and he led the way. The door opened onto a quiet hallway, narrower than the main aisles, lit by torches set within iron holders. The air here smelled of incense mixed with dust, centuries of prayers and pages waiting silently. I risked a glance at the stranger before Gabriel spoke softly. "We're following the funeral attendant's exit. No one will notice us until it's too late." I swallowed, adrenaline surging. "Lead on." We hurried down the corridor, passing alcoves containing statues of saints, one arm extended as if beckoning. Each saint's eyes seemed to follow us, guardians of this hidden world. Ahead, the archway opened into a chapel, a smaller, private sanctuary where only the clergy and designated guests could enter. The stranger stood next to the altar, hands clasped on the marble surface, head bent. He lifted his gaze as we approached. It was Reverend Crowley, his presence calm, yet charged with energy. "Isabella," he said, voice low but firm, "you shouldn't be here." I stepped forward, drawing strength from the recent revelations of my father's legacy. I have to know why he led me, why he orchestrated this test. Crowley's eyes glimmered. "You faced the first trials. You proved your resolve at the cathedral, claimed your inheritance, and answered the call of duty. Now, you must step into the field." Field. The word echoed. Memories of maps, clandestine vaults, and midnight missions flooded me. "Your father designed this moment," Crowley continued. "Tomorrow's dawn will mark the start of your first joint operation. But before that, you will join me here, just beyond these doors, to witness the secret that crowns your initiation." Gabriel glanced at me, nodding encouragement. "He's right." I took a steadying breath. "Show me." Crowley pressed a hidden latch on the altar's base. The marble shifted, revealing a narrow staircase spiraling downward into pitch-black darkness. My pulse quickened. "This is the hidden oratory beneath the cathedral," Crowley explained. "It's where your father meditated, planned, and bound his spirit to his work. The room is sanctified, held in trust by the Order of the Crimson Dove. Only those deemed worthy may enter." I swallowed. "And I am deemed worthy?" He inclined his head. "Prove it still. Follow me." Torchlight flickered as we descended. The walls closed in, dripping moisture. The air was thick, alive with echoes. At the bottom, a vaulted chamber opened before us. Pillars carved with angels stood sentinel. In the center was a stone altar, upon which rested a single parchment, illuminated by a solitary beam of moonlight filtering through a narrow grate. Crowley stepped forward, reverently touching the parchment. "This is the covenant of the Crimson Dove, your father's oath. It binds his work, his values, and your own name to the cause of mercy under crisis." I approached, every footstep echoing in the hush. Crowley continued, "Read it aloud, Isabella Callahan. Declare your vow as your father did, so that his spirit may recognize his heir, and so the order may accept you as its director." My breath caught. The parchment's calligraphy was elegant and strong. I lifted it, fingers trembling. "I, Isabella Callahan, daughter of William Callahan, bearing the iris locket and inheritor of the silent missions, do solemnly vow to uphold the dignity of every life in crisis, to shield the innocent from harm, to deliver hope where despair reigns, and to lead with courage, compassion, and unwavering faith. This covenant I bind with my heart, my honor, and my duty, now and always." The words hung in the air like a benediction. The chamber seemed to hum, a presence stirring in shadows. Crowley laid a hand on my shoulder. "Rise, Director Callahan. The order accepts you. Yours is the mantle your father held so dear." My chest swelled with purpose. "I accept." A distant chime told, the cathedral bells signaling the end of the vigil. The time had come. I pressed through the shadows, Gabriel's presence cool and determined at my ahead. The lone figure, slender, cloaked, melted into a side chapel. I darted across the polished marble, heart pounding. A gust of candle-scented air brushed my cheek as I stepped inside. A small sanctuary lined with icons and devotions. The figure turned, lowering the hood to reveal familiar eyes. Mara Halloway, Gabriel's assistant from the Wills estate briefing. "Mara?" I whispered. She nodded, lips pressed tight. Isabella, we need to move. They're closing the cathedral. Security will sweep the premises soon. I glanced at Gabriel, who nodded once. Confirmation that Mara's presence was expected. What's the situation? I asked. Mara's fingers danced over a tablet she held. I accessed the Foundation's communications. Someone's tampering with the accounts, diverting funds meant for the missions. It's recent. They're covering their tracks. My heart tightened. Sabotage? Who would? Gabriel's voice cut in. Family members? His gaze flicked to the altar. Eleanor has motive. She'd gain if missions failed and the estate defaulted. My jaw clenched. Aunt Eleanor's subtle disdain had flared subtly earlier. But this was betrayal incarnate. Mara continued. I flagged the transactions and traced them to an offshore account. But I need your signature as Director Iris to freeze the funds. Then we must secure the next cash before dawn. I swallowed. Where is the cash? Mara tapped coordinates. A warehouse on the outskirts of the city, Kenmore district. Supplies for the flood victims in Romania were being held there. Gabriel produced a pair of electronic lockpicks. We can bypass the security quietly, but time is short. Are you ready? I felt the weight of responsibility settle in my chest. My father's vision, his silent crusade, it all hinged on our success tonight. I tapped my temple, recalling the covenant of the Crimson Dove. Courage, compassion, faith. I'm ready, I confirmed. Mara let out a breathless sigh. Download this. She handed me a secure drive. Maps, manifest, and team roster. The medics and drivers await at the rendezvous. She hesitated. Isabella, trust needs to be clear. I've served your father faithfully, but now I serve you. I met her gaze. Thank you, Mara. I trust you. Gabriel led the way back through the cathedral's side passage. We emerged into the cool night air, bowing low beneath the ornate arch before slipping through a side door into an alley thick with shadows. The city's pulse thrummed around us. Distant horns, the hum of neon signs. We moved swiftly, stepping over puddles left by a recent drizzle. A beat-up sedan idled under a flickering street lamp. Two men in dark jackets stood guard, faces obscured. Gabriel approached first, nodding. Team assembled. Director is here. The men saluted discreetly. The driver rolled down his window. Director Iris, follow me. Inside the car, Mara slid into the back seat beside me. The maps glowed on the secure drive's screen. I held her gaze. What's our ETA? The driver's voice crackled through the comms. 20 minutes. Warehouse is locked down tight. Alarms, cameras, motion sensors. Only your override will open it. I pressed play on the manifest. Medical kits, water purification units, solar lamps. Enough to sustain 1,000 refugees. Gabriel climbed in the front. I'll handle security. Mara, coordinate with the medics. Isabella, you'll authorize the override. I nodded, feeling the locket's weight at my throat. Understood. The car lurched forward, slicing through the night. Streetlights flickered past as my mind raced. The stakes had never felt higher. Every second counted toward Dawn's mission. Outside the warehouse, we parked in a shadowed loading bay. Gabriel and the guards slipped silent as phantoms toward the entry panel. Mara, I murmured, help me access the override. She leaned close, guiding my hands over the secure drive's port. We uploaded the credentials, the drive whirring softly. The panel beeped, then clicked open. A green light flickered. Alarm disabled. Gabriel nodded. Now. He slid the door open. Inside, rows of crates towered, stenciled with Red Cross symbols. The medical team, clad in protective gear, filed in behind him. I watched them go, chest tight. This was my father's world, one I was born to lead. As the crates opened and hands distributed supplies, I felt a surge of purpose, of connection to my father's dream. But outside, hidden in darkness, a pair of eyes watched. Sentinel in the shadows, calculating. Cliffhanger. Had we truly secured the supplies, or had someone else set their sights on Project Phoenix? Silent shadows swallowed me as I slipped into the cloister side corridor. Gabriel's steady footsteps trailed behind, each echo a tether to this new life I'd chosen. The air smelled of damp stone and lingering incense, heavy with secrets. Ahead, the cloister's arches led to a concealed door, marked only by a faded emblem, an iris entwined with a dove. I pressed my palm against the emblem, recalling the locket's inscription. Courage, faith, legacy. The emblem glowed faintly beneath my touch, as though responding to blood and purpose. Gabriel produced the silver key from Reverend Crowley. "This is the way the order secured the cathedral's inner sanctum," he whispered. "Your father used this path countless times. Now, it's ours." I inserted the key into the lock. The mechanism clicked, and the doors swung open onto a narrow spiral staircase leading downward into subterranean corridors, lined with silent icons. My heart hammered. I was descending, not just through earth and stone, but through the layers of my father's life I'd barely glimpsed. At the bottom, torchlight flickered along the walls. The corridor branched left and right. Gabriel consulted a small holographic map projected from his wrist device. "Left," he said, tapping the projection. "We're heading to the archive chamber, where your father stored the operational files for his missions." I followed him through the winding passages, each step echoing. Our boots scuffed stone that hadn't felt human presence in years. The torchlight cast our shadows onto carved reliefs, depicting acts of mercy, hands offering water to the thirsty, doves carrying olive branches across battlegrounds. We approached a massive iron door secured by an electronic console. I inhaled sharply. Mara's warning about Aunt Eleanor's sabotage rang in my ears. Had the funds been diverted? Had the sabotage extended to these files? Gabriel placed a hand on the console. "Your override from the will executor should grant us access. Are you ready to unlock your father's archive?" I steadied myself. "Yes." I entered the decryption code from the executor's envelope. The console beeped, its red light turning green. The door hissed open. Inside, rows of steel cages and reinforced cabinets held digital terminals, data crystals, and paper files in leather-bound folios. The center of the room featured a circular dais with a single pedestal and a sealed crystal sphere. Gabriel gestured toward the sphere. "This is the heart of the iris, your father's manifesto. It lists every mission, every promise, every ally and adversary. It's both inspiration and burden." I stepped forward, hand trembling. The sphere glowed, a soft pulse like a living heart. I traced the rune etched into its surface, an iris bloom with a dove's wing. A sudden alarm blared, the shrill cry of a security breach. Gabriel's eyes widened. "It's a phantom trace. Someone's triggered the motion sensors in the upper gallery." Panic flared. Mara and the medical team relied on these archives for coordination at dawn. If the file went missing, Project Phoenix would falter. I pressed my palm to the sphere. A holographic interface bloomed around me, listing options. Download sphere's data. Initiate lockdown protocol. Summon Guardian interface. Gabriel urged. "Download quickly." I tapped download. Data streams flew from the sphere into my wrist device. Glyph after glyph of code, maps, operation logs. The alarm intensified. Footsteps pounded above, reverberating through the corridors. Gabriel drew a sidearm. "I'll slow them. You finish the download." I nodded, teeth clenched against fear. The holographic progress bar rose, 25%, 50-75. Suddenly, the sphere's glow dimmed. The interface flickered and froze. "No!" I gasped. The sphere's light extinguished, shrouding the chamber in darkness. Gabriel's voice was a growl. "They've cut the power to the archive. We're running out of time." My heart pounded. I lunged for the pedestal's manual override, a rusted lever hidden beneath a panel. I pulled with all my might. The sphere clicked, its core lighting again. Data surged into my device. A final flicker, then the download completed. On my wrist, the terminal displayed. "Download successful. Data integrity at 100%. I exhaled, relief flooding me. Until the real panic set in. Who had triggered the alarm? Friend or foe? Footsteps thundered, growing closer. Cliffhanger. As darkness closed in, could I and Gabriel escape with the heart of the iris and uncover who tried to sabotage my father's legacy? As darkness closed in, Gabriel and I bolted from the archive chamber, the downloaded data humming in my wrist device. The corridors loomed before us like the veins of my father's secret heart, each turn leading farther into the extent of his hidden world, and further from the safety of daylight. We sprinted through the twisting passages, boots echoing against cold stone. My breath came in ragged gasps, adrenaline fueling every step. The distant clang of pursuit, shouts and hurried footsteps, was a grim reminder that our window to escape was closing. Gabriel pivoted sharply into a side alcove. Torchlight flickered against a carved relief of two doves circling an iris. He pressed a hidden latch and pulled back a sandstone panel, revealing a narrow slit through which we crawled. I emerged into a small, vaulted prayer room lit by a single shaft of moonlight. Stained glass windows cast spectral colors across the floor. Gabriel followed, pressing the panel closed. "We need to reach the courtyard. Fast," he whispered. I nodded, heart pounding. "What about the saboteur? Do we know who triggered the alarm?" Gabriel shook his head. "Not yet. But whoever it was wanted the heart of the iris. If they escape with that, they control everything." Pushing aside a heavy tapestry, he revealed a side door that led to a spiral stair winding upward. We climbed, muscles burning, until we spilled out onto the cathedral's rooftop. The city lay sprawled beneath us, a sea of lights and dark alleys. The dawn would break in a few short hours, but right now the night was ours. Gabriel scanned the horizon, then offered me his hand to climb over the ledge. From there, we dropped onto a lower terrace and slipped through a service door into the cloister. Dawn's first light filtered through the arches, painting the columns in gold. The courtyard lay ahead, silent but for the distant rumble of traffic. We emerged into the open air as the last chime of the cathedral bell tolled. A cool breeze carried the scent of dew and jasmine. It felt like stepping into a new world, one where my father's legacy would either flourish or die. Gabriel led me across the courtyard to a waiting vehicle, a rugged SUV with tinted windows and a discreet emblem on its door, the Holloway Dove. The engine idled, lights off. Inside, Mara and two team members consulted a digital map on a tablet. Mara looked up, relief flooding her face. "You made it. We thought we lost you." I sank into the seat, dust and cold sweat clinging to my skin. Download complete. They didn't get the sphere. The driver, a quiet man named Leroy who'd managed logistics for the missions, nodded. "Good. Now we head to the drop zone. We're behind schedule by an hour, but we can still make it." Gabriel joined us in the back. He held a steaming thermos. "Coffee? You'll need it." I accepted the cup, warmth spreading through my fingers. I lifted it to my lips, tasting the bittersweet promise of action. On the tablet, the map displayed two routes to the Romanian border transit point, where the supply convoy awaited. Both roads were compromised, one by flood-damaged bridges, the other by checkpoints of a local militia known for extortion. Mara traced the routes. "Bridge route has collapsed sections, requires engineering crews to clear. Checkpoint route risks inspection and seizure. Neither is ideal." My jaw clenched. What would Dad choose? Gabriel tapped his temple. He always chose the harder path if it meant protecting the people. I narrowed my eyes at the map. "Then we'll take the checkpoint road. But we'll disguise the convoy as a local humanitarian effort. Use encrypted comms to announce ourselves as Red Crescent Relief." Mara's face lit up. "Brilliant. We have credentials for that. And we can reroute around the worst of the flooded areas. Use secondary crossings." Leroy started the engine. Then, "Let's move. Time is against us." The SUV lurched forward, tires crunching gravel. As we drove through narrow streets toward the outskirts, dawn's light spilled across the sky in a riot of amber and rose. Fields and empty lots gave way to the highway. Ahead, the checkpoint appeared, concrete barriers and metal gates with armed guards standing behind them. Mara met my gaze. "Once we're through, it's a 6-hour convoy to the transit point." Supplies must arrive before nightfall to reach the villages. I gripped the dashboard. We'll make it. At the checkpoint, I flicked the tablet's display so the guards could see the Red Crescent logo and the humanitarian convoy manifest. The lead guard studied it, brow furrowed. "Miss Callahan," he said, voice gruff. "Permission to inspect the cargo." I stepped out, placing a hand on my chest. "I'm Director Iris. You have clearance. The people beyond need this aid." He hesitated, eyes flicking to the manifest, then to my face. Finally, he nodded. "Move through. Good luck." As the gates clanged open, relief washed over me. But as we passed, I spotted movement in the guard tower, a silhouette lifting binoculars, watching us. My heart sank. We'd been seen. Cliffhanger. With the convoy underway and unseen eyes tracking our every move, could we deliver the life-saving supplies? Or would a hidden adversary turn my father's legacy into a tool of betrayal?